This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Next on Big Story. One of the most ambitious global projects the world has ever seen.
If you take a look at all the infrastructure, airport, high-speed rail there, no country can really compete with China right now on infrastructure.
$1 trillion investment.
It's about connectivity, and that's really the prerequisite of acquire economic prosperity.
Driven by one nation, with dozens of others joining in.
是世界上发展最快的集装箱港区。我们南沙的航线通达全球。
Trading $1.3 trillion a year and growing on transcontinental trains, maritime silk roads, and the cloud above us.
Mobile services and biotech and industrial, China's going to become the most innovative country in the world in the next 5 to 10 years.
Moving goods from China to the world.
It will change how we do business.
And from the world back to the largest middle class on the planet.
Salaries are still going up 10-15% a year. At the blue collar level, salaries are actually increasing even more.
The Belt and Road Initiative.
The ultimate aim is what he called to build a community of shared interests for mankind.
Informed by the trade routes of history and inspired by a future still being discovered.
So in a way, what I say about Belt and Road is if it did not exist, you would have to invent it.
The New Silk Road. Part 1 of a 3-part series. Next on Big Story.
If you talk about 40 years, I would say fabulous and unbelievable that the infrastructure in China changed over that 40 years. China has been very active in different type of major projects here and has never been done in any other places.
I'm amazed by the speed of change that's happening in China over that period of time.
From 1980s, China began to discuss this whole idea of both internal market and external market, both Chinese market and global market. So both are linked together.
I think of it about putting in the infrastructure as they did in China from 1978 onwards in order to build an urban population. But if you take what China learned to do that, building the infrastructure, building the capacity in the cities and the towns to build consumer societies, that's what you're going to see in BRI.
China would like to share its own experience in terms of development in the past 40 years. China has been benefited enormously in the past 40 years by building strong and solid infrastructures.
Beginning in the late 1970s, China began introducing a series of economic reforms that would help it open up to the outside world.
If you look at the whole process of China's opening up, it started with China's coast, what we call opening up along China's coast, and then opening up along China's major river, the Yangtze River, and then opening up along China's border provinces.
Professor Zhongwei Wei is a best-selling author, specializing in China's economic and political history, and Dean of the China Institute at Fudan University.
Then, in the year 2000, there is a big initiative called Go West within China, because there is an imbalance between the coastal areas and the interior parts of China. Coastal areas have been more developed.
At the turn of the century, China began an ambitious initiative to develop the infrastructure in the country's west. Dubbed the Great Western Development, its goal was to balance the economic inequality between its industrial coastal region and the rural interior.
Building strong and solid infrastructures, as you can see, besides countries like China, to get the country to move around. And that's really the prerequisite of acquire economic prosperity. And obviously, China has done that really well in the past 40 years.
Dr. Yiwu is head of China Foresight at the London School of Economics.
If we think about China, if we consider China being re-entering international community, and that would be 2001 when China firstly joined WTO. And then at that time, the Chinese economy are mostly driven by textile, low-end manufacturing in the coastal provinces in Guangdong and Zhejiang.
China shifted its economic focus towards higher-end hard goods manufacturing, utilizing its large population and investing heavily on domestic infrastructure development to integrate into the global economy.
Population, I would say, is a driver behind many of this infrastructure development.
Dr. Jingbing Cui is a professor of civil engineering at the University of Maryland.
If you take a look at all the infrastructure, airport, high-speed rails there, and no country can really compete with China right now on the infrastructure.
Through infrastructural development, China moved hundreds of millions out of poverty, changing the nation's destiny.
According to the UN estimate, China alone largely accounts for 80% of the world's poverty reduction. So China has indeed created the world's largest middle class.
Yiwu is a city in eastern China, 300 kilometers southwest of Shanghai. For decades, people have come from across the globe to do business here. And today, it's the world's largest wholesale goods market.
If you look at the new Silk Road, where it goes, I'd say probably Yiwu is the start.
Nigel Crop is from the UK.
Hello, Summer.
And has been walking these corridors for 13 years.
It's very difficult to tell people back home, there's this market, they think of something like Petticoat Lane in London or some street market, It certainly isn't like that. Basically, you can come here and buy anything.
He's a trader who buys thousands of goods for clients from all over the world. They call him up and tell him what they want. He goes to the stalls, finds the best products, and agrees on price and quantity.
It's all categorised. Well, building one, you've got the categories, you've got Christmas, artificial flowers, jewellery, toys and novelties. Upstairs, there's a lot of kitchenware, a lot of luggage. Third floor's a lot of phone accessories. And then you go to building two, it's more hardware, lighting.
He has witnessed the changes and developments of the past decade firsthand.
When I first came, it was very, very raw, very much like the Wild West, really. Not everything was consolidated into this market. They had different markets, and now the government have consolidated it all into this one-stop shop, so to speak.
Founded in 1982 as a humble market of 700 stalls, Yiwu is a one-stop shop where all paperwork, delivery, and even customs can be sorted. It's an intricate ecosystem built through years of experience, investment, and infrastructure.
Yiwu was a farming community 30, 40 years ago, and they started up this small market, generally selling decorations, arts and crafts, and it sort of got a name for itself. And more people came to Yiwu, and then people from Pakistan, India started to come over here to do their buying, and it just grew from there.
Manufacturers and traders have got everything they need here, as long as the price is right.
这个多少钱？
现在嘛，反正13.5块5。
13块，13块5。
对，这个便宜的，12。对。
Nigel isn't looking to buy just a couple of bags. The client he is buying for today is after a massive order of 12,000 units.
25。
25。
25啊。
25。
太少了，50个嘛。
25。
25太小了，那
不是，我喜欢小的，我喜欢小的。
我们有那样提，
没问题，
去的，
没问题，
高一下就
不是
几毛钱就高上去了。
神经病。
我们其他的工厂全部都改成25。
She's tough.
Once their deals are done, everything from small electronics to suitcases, clothes to household supplies, fill giant containers to make their way by rail across Central Asia and all the way to Western Europe.
So the good thing about the train is we can get items into the marketplace quite quick, and it's cheaper than air freight, obviously. And especially with seasonal goods, Christmas, Halloween, Easter, Valentine's. So it's very important to meet the deadline, otherwise they can't sell the goods.
China has the second longest railway network in the world. But only a decade ago, there were no regular rail services between here and Europe. That changed in 2009. The first regular train service to Europe launched between Shanghai and Duisburg in Germany. And since then, more destinations have been added to the network. And today, cargo trains take goods from Yiwu all the way to Western Europe. It was a monumental feat, but Chinese engineers proved they were up to the task, completing the first link in the global connectivity endeavor that would become the Belt and Road Initiative.
To build those kind of mega projects, China has already, built the foundation for all kinds of engineering skills and also the capacity that China can easily export to many other countries, of course.
In December 2014, the first train left here for Madrid, a journey of 13,000 kilometers. Now there are trains to London too. In all, this railway connects Yiwu to 35 European cities. But with global integration and connectivity come new challenges. Zhongyang and Shanshan Yan are customs officers at Yiwu Dry Port.
这里的话就是我们“一带一路”的起点。
周边的货物都集中到Yiwu来，然后一起发往那个“一带一路”沿线的这个周边的国家。
现在国际的话，一周有7到8列去的啊。
In 2018, there were almost 1,500 completed journeys from China to Europe.
The railway now covers a huge Eurasian continent, China-Europe Express. It's important because it saves time. it takes 2 weeks. Yeah, if you go via maritime transport, it will take 6 weeks.
This customs office was opened 2 years ago to help speed up the train's journeys and crack down on copyright infringement.
医生，我们走吧。那个要车钥匙拿着。
这样拿。
对，因为现在的业务量上来了嘛，我们这边的话基本上处于一个运载工作状态比较紧张的一个状态，比较忙碌。
我们主要我们注意的是一些重点敏感商品的查验，像一些走私违规的违禁物品啊，还有一些那个危险品啊，还有一些比如侵权走私。
充气玩具是哪个？哦。
Here, they're part of a Belt and Road customs plan,
来开吧那边。
which speeds up the movement of goods and enforces international trade law.
这是充气的，充气口在哪里？
有吧？有
12个一排。
哦，对对。好，瓷杯。一天之内，我们像这样的集装箱的话，我们查10个，就是20个标箱。
The products leaving this dry port will be crossing international borders.
要确保在国家这个运输途中，它的那个集装箱里面的货物是不会被更换的。
现在的话就是对这个集装箱进行湿封了，上锁给它。这样的话就确保这个途中监管的话是处于一个这个集装箱处于一个安全的状态，从这里到下一个点，到下一个海关监管点，
保证这个货物跟它申报单是一直都是一致的。
This train is carrying 30 containers across 7 countries.
刚才那列火车的话，就是发往英国伦敦的，它大概的话全程大概经过20天就到达我们的目的地英国伦敦了。沿线的一些国家它也会停的，也有点。
Is about connectivity, and that's really the prerequisite of acquiring economic prosperity.
The Belt and Road Initiative is a $1 trillion investment and development program in international infrastructure projects, trade agreements, and alliances meant to benefit China and its partner countries. Inspired by the legendary Silk Road, it spans the distance from the ancient Chinese capital of Xi'an to bustling trade centers as far away as Rome.
The current financial system, global financial system, it's working, but it's not helping infrastructure, which is a demand which China can do. So China view this road as more complementary.
Now, China has done an amazing job of delivering that infrastructure for its own population of 1.4, 1.5 billion people, but what about the rest? The World Bank and other entities abandoned infrastructure finance in the 1960s, again, while these countries were poor and independent and their populations were growing.
Parag Khanna is an international relations analyst and author.
So in a way, what I say about Belt and Road is if it did not exist, you would have to invent it. You must bridge that market failure for infrastructure services, steel, the finance, and Belt and Road wraps that all into one.
Chinese company, I would say for the past 20 years, many of those Chinese construction firms has been ranked almost top companies in the world. So they're well prepared to build infrastructure projects in other countries.
What you see in China is a country that in 30 years has actually grown massively in terms of its economy. It's lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. It's built massive infrastructure, and it's actually in many ways successfully moving itself from being a low-skill, low-wage economy to being a high-skill, high-wage economy with a big service sector.
Angus Knowles-Cutler is Vice Chairman and Chinese Services Group Leader of international accounting giant Deloitte.
This is China actually reaching out to the rest of the world, helping fund and provide infrastructure. China's built a lot of its own infrastructure in the last 20 years, major programs in terms of building airports, roads, railways and ports. And so they've actually acquired a lot of good technical knowledge of how to build on a large scale. That's very transferable to other emerging economies. So it's both capital from China and it's also know-how from China building infrastructure.
6 so-called economic networks have been identified. A belt, like the one that starts in Yiwu, from China to Central and South Asia, the Middle East and Europe, and a maritime Silk Road from Southeast Asia and Oceania to the Middle East, Africa and Europe.
What has been happening in the past 5 years or so is Chinese companies now investing more overseas than foreign companies invest into China. The balance actually flipped around 2015.
Andrew Caney is an associate fellow at Chatham House, where he examines the impact of the Belt and Road Initiative.
China has been seeking to move to a more domestically driven economy and to increase its imports for a long time. And connectivity runs two ways. So it's about creating new markets for countries outside of China coming to China, as well as helping China go out and access new markets itself.
In 2018, China exported $700 billion worth of goods to Belt and Road countries, and it imported over $500 billion worth of products from along the route. The maritime route of the BRI is also having a massive impact on the shipping industry. 7 of the 10 largest ports in the world are in China.
Let me introduce our port, Nansha Port. Hi. It's a good day.
The man at the helm of Nansha Port enjoys the facility so much, he changed his name to Nansha Song.
我喜欢大海，我喜欢蓝天，我喜欢5颜6色的集装箱，
As Nansha Port is within 100 kilometers of 9 major cities, it plays a key role on the maritime Silk Road.
我们南沙港区的发展被国家定位为“一带一路”的重要的支点，重要的一个支点城市，一个支点港口。南沙3期已经在快速的发展。过去的3年，我们开通了“一带一路”沿线国家的37条国际航线。那么现在我们又有将近100条的国际航线，是世界上发展最快的集装箱港区。对我们南沙的航线通达全球，我们有美洲航线、欧洲航线，还有东南亚、非洲航线。其中南沙港区的，随着我们“一带一路”整个倡议的一个实施，我们非洲航线的密度是逐步的加大。
Last year, Nansha's 60 cranes loaded and unloaded 16 million containers.
现在我们站的这台机是离地面是45米，不怕。我们是职业司机，已经习惯了。
Liao Wanzhong is one of 40 crane operators on shift.
这就是我们驾驶室了。我们一上班就在这里工作8小时了。
Today, Liao will move up to 350 6-meter-long containers on and off ships.
1分钟左右一个吧。在干这行的，通常我们一个桥的事都感觉很光荣。
This is the only ocean terminal in this port with 16 deep-water berths. That means it can accommodate some of the world's biggest ships.
我们这条船可以装载14000个集装箱啊！这条船的目的港是去欧洲。
The APL Raffles is a 369-meter-long megaship. Harbor pilot Yang Yiwu is responsible for navigating the massive vessel out of the port.
9层甲板，因为这个船比较高，我们也曾经试过没有，或者是这个电梯坏了，没有办法，这一层层的走上去。Good morning, Miss Captain. Morning.
Welcome, Mr. Pilot.
Morning, Miss Captain. On the bridge, only 2 chairs, one for captain, one for pilot.
Along the Maritime Silk Road, there are hundreds of ports, all with different water depths and channel widths. It's almost impossible for the captains to know the intricacies of each one.
引航呢，就是说，当你的船舶到了这种特定的水域里边，你对这里边不熟悉，由我们熟悉这个水域的人，熟悉这个船舶操纵的人，怎么样把你这个船舶安全的指引进出这个水域，进出这个港口。
Ships like this can cover 300,000 kilometers in a year.
Fore and aft station, stand by.
From this port, it takes 3 weeks to get to Africa and 4 weeks to get to the Mediterranean.
That's slow, Austin. Starboard 10.
Starboard 10.
Steady.
Ready.
Thanks to the Nansha port, entrepreneurs like Abdunasser Mohammed come to China from all over the world.
The people I'm dealing with are just migrants like myself. You know. Customers are migrants, my business partners are migrants, the workers are migrants.
Abdunasser handles logistics for his customers. Inventory comes to his facility, where it is prepped and shipped to his native Kenya.
Overwhelming majority of our customers are from Kenya. So the goods coming to this warehouse, almost all of our goods will be going to Mombasa port. From Mombasa port, it will be transported to Nairobi.
It takes 17 days for the goods to reach Mombasa via the Belt and Road.
It's loose cargo. Each customer may not have enough goods to load by themselves, so that's why they need our service to consolidate the goods, put it in the container and ship. So as you can see, different names of the customers. In this container, it will be completed in maybe next half an hour, and it will be on its way to the port. And from the port, it will go to the Mombasa port, and it will be loaded on the train from Mombasa to Nairobi. Very convenient, short time. So it's really amazing how fast this is going.
Though the initiative is in its infancy, it allows Abdunasser to streamline his business, and future Belt and Road projects may further decrease his shipment times.
And definitely it will change how we do business. For example, now people are talking about China-Pakistan corridor. If that project is completed, I mean, we are talking about transit time of maybe a week or 10 days from Guangzhou to all the way to Mombasa, because we will be using a Pakistani port, Gawaria, to do the transshipment from Guangzhou to the Pakistani port by rail, and from there going to East Africa. So how long will it take? Week, 10 days? So Belt and Road will definitely change dramatically how we do business.
In 2015, President Xi Jinping pledged to back $46 billion in energy and infrastructure projects in Pakistan. This will connect China's western Xinjiang province from Kashgar through Islamabad, all the way to the Gulf of Oman and the port of Gwadar.
Why is it happening? Because China has to work out how it's going to position itself in the world. It's done a lot of analysis of rising powers and of their problems with trying to be empires, trying to run other countries and so on. The Chinese instinctively don't go down that road, but in their scientific analysis of the history of the world, it's quite clear being an empire leads you to not being an empire. So the Chinese don't want to do any of that.
Stephen Perry is the chairman of the 48 Group Club, which specializes in China's trade relations.
They have to deal with the world around them in a very innovative way. And the way that they've been working at this over many years was to look at sharing the benefits of their economic development model. And that means working with the countries close to them in order that their prosperity is raised. So Xi Jinping talks about the community of shared future, and this word sharing comes up time and time again about the agenda within China and the agenda outside China. So one of the first features of BRI is to share with their neighboring countries their prosperity. BRI is about transforming the transportation system, the communication systems of the world, and the energy systems of the world. It's also about sharing prosperity in order that countries can work together for economic development. It's really about China coming to terms with how a responsible nation has got to conduct itself in order to maintain its position of relative prosperity.
China's economy is still growing 6.5% a year. It's become the largest or the second largest trade partner with most countries in the world. And about 20% of the economy is based off of exports, but a large part of that is no longer the cheap manufacturing. It's companies that have moved up the value chain.
Sean Rain is the founder and managing director of the China Market Research Group.
Salaries are going up 10-15% a year. At the blue-collar level, salaries are actually increasing even more. People who used to work in manufacturing 3 years ago making 1,500 to 2,000 RMB a month are now making 10,000 RMB a month.
The labor cost in China has gradually increased.
China's increase in cost of manufacturing has led companies to seek creative solutions to this emerging problem.
This is our workshop.
Here at Tamasek, production lines not long ago filled by employees are now held down by workers of the automated kind. These robots are charged with making parts for the iPhone.
We use this machine to produce the vibration model. When somebody calls you, we're shaking vibration, the vibration model.
The staff no longer produces iPhone parts. Instead, they produce robots to do that for them.
China's one carbon, one key. So the labor quantity is decreasing. The manufacturing industry is continue to expand, but the labor quantity is decreasing. Last year, 20% increase in salary. Now, you have to increase 40 or 50%.
This workshop also makes robots for the automobile industry. As manufacturing costs rise, automation continues to grow in popularity.
The new generation, they don't want to work like a robot. They want to do some high quality, high tech job.
Robots, however, are not limited to just production lines.
这里是我们的机器人仓储智能运营中心。
This is a fulfillment center run by Geek Plus, where humans and robots work together. Tony Lee manages this mixed workforce.
随着现在中国市场的人力分红还有一个就是劳动力的成本是越来越高，对自动化是必然的趋势。它第一会提高效率第二就是说它也会降低成本。
In 3 years of business, they have become the largest supplier of warehouse robots in China, addressing the needs of the country's changing labor force. With their superhuman strength, these robots are responsible for the heavy lifting.
效率提升了60%。传统物流就是人到货，现在我们就是货到人这个拣选的一个新的概念啊，新的概念。它现在能做的就是把我们的货物到了我们的人的身边，然后减少人的走动。对。
In this warehouse, they send out 5,000 items a day with the help of just 20 robots.
我们现在所用的就是二维码做导航，就像之前你要收到一个包裹，可能需要1个小时、2个小时或者2天，对，现在可能就是20分钟、10分钟，这个就是说客户满意度越来越高。
And just like their human colleagues, these robots had to go through a trial period before settling into their duties.
我们在地面规划做整个规划区域的时候呢，我们会坐着机器人，坐在机器人身上，然后我们会去做一些测试。
Team building exercises were crucial for the robots to settle in.
小轩，你能不能帮我调一台机器人，我坐上去让？
原则上是不允许的呀。
OK， 我们演示一下，演示一下。OK， 70公斤，好，可以了。哦。送回去，哥们儿。
What China now trying to do is to brand itself from made in China to invented in China. So, of course, if we're talking about invented in China, that require innovation and high technology research.
A renewed focus on innovation can be seen among China's tech giants. They are based in the city of Shenzhen, but their products are available anywhere on a new digital superhighway.
The digital Silk Road is an additional, very important component of BRI. After all, BRI is about connectivity at its core, and today connectivity is a lot to do with technology.
Because the labor cost in China gradually increased, and also because China realized itself it can no longer just producing clothes and toys for the Western customers. Because of the financial crisis, the demand has been really low compared with in the past. So China looking for a further step of its own economic development. So that's what China trying to do, develop itself into a country where it can produce high-end product and have a unique advantage and unique selling point for it, rather than just producing something which could be created massively.
Many countries in Southeast Asia have fewer than 20% of households with internet access, according to the United Nations. Because of this, the Belt and Road Initiative has widened to include a digital Silk Road. As part of the DSR initiative, China will invest billions to build the infrastructure that will connect more people to the internet.
We can see a lot more focus coming in the next few years around the digital Silk Road and connectivity. Firstly, around standards. With the advent of 5G, China is very keen to help shape those standards on a global basis. And one way to do that is through the deployment of 5G systems along Belt and Road countries. China has its own internet giants like Alibaba and Tencent, and its own technology infrastructure providers like Huawei and ZTE. They are all keen to grow internationally. They're very appealing to BRI country governments, and we can see the potential for the development of the Chinese-style internet.
In the next 5 years, China will invest about $14 billion in information infrastructure projects, including developing fiber optic cables for high-speed internet. But that's just the beginning.
Some amazing things are happening that really aren't understood in the West. Micropayments, the use of phone-based technology to actually trade, to shop, to communicate.
I believe that China is 2 to 3 years ahead of the United States and the UK when it comes to mobile service innovation.
Jelly Li is an employee of one of China's micropayment industry leaders.
就是其实大家现在在中国的大街小巷、街头去看，会发现移动支付呢已经渗透到我们生活中的方方面面。就是你比如说买个早餐，或者去超市买个东西，其实你基本上拿出手机就可以去做支付的。包括你打车，然后甚至我们边走还可以边在网上购物，对吗？
WeChat is one of China's tech giants. The platform combines social media and mobile payments into a user-friendly app. This convenience has made mobile payments a customer favorite. Even the world's largest retailer, Walmart, has adjusted its business practices to better appeal to China's consumers. Ivy Chen is an intern at WeChat's Guangzhou office.
In China, I can use my WeChat to scan the barcode of the merchandise and just buy it. I'm gonna press this button to scan the barcode here. Yes, and so now I can see the item and the price of it here. And then you can just press this button, just pay the bill. And I don't need to line up in front of the cashier. I just let it scan my QR code and finish my purchase.
This noodle bar is a typical restaurant all across China. Customers here scan a QR code unique to their table. The menu pops up on their phone and choices are tapped in. Orders are sent to the kitchen. And shortly after, it arrives at the table. The lucky ones can have a full meal without uttering a word to anyone else.
China mobile service companies like WeChat are must-haves. When you come to China, if you don't have a service like WeChat, you can't live. You book your food, you book your movies, you book your doctor's appointments, you pay for everything through a WeChat system or one of their competitors like Alibaba.
In 2017, almost half of the world's digital payments were made in China.
That's the scanning system. So after we are out of the parking lot, it will automatically read my card number and then just deduct the fees from my account directly. It has a cool name, called unconscious payment, because I don't need to do anything.
Tencent is a Chinese tech giant. Its offices in Shenzhen, China's Silicon Valley, can feel like a playground. With everything from a running track to basketball and badminton courts. It even has a rock climbing wall and a robot that delivers water. Tencent is the developer of WeChat, one of the world's most popular mobile apps.
那用户他比如说需要转账给自己的朋友，或者是出去聚餐的时候，他们之间可以去便捷的收付款。大家应该会看到，我们现在坐公交车不需要再用现金去买票了，然后就可以拿一个手机，有一个 QR code， 然后嘟一下就可以上车了，这个是非常方便的，就是它已经是大家非常习惯的一种生活方式。
Use of China's mobile payment services has skyrocketed in the past 5 years. In 2017, China's mobile payment transactions amounted to $15.4 trillion. That's more than 40 times the amount of US transactions.
Tenpay, which is the payment system from WeChat, is now going all over the world. And so as Chinese tourists and as Chinese businessmen go to Japan, go to Thailand, go to France, you can now use WeChat Pay everywhere because that's what the Chinese consumer wants. They need to use WeChat Pay and they rely on them more than credit cards in order to make purchases.
In 2017, the value of digital payments like the ones made with WeChat and Alipay exceeded the worldwide totals of Visa and MasterCard combined. This map shows active WeChat users around the world.
So far we have seen Alibaba has expanded itself in Russia and further to Central Asia. WeChat has gone global, but Tencent want to further strengthen that and want to put itself being a key player for the so-called Digital Belt and Road Initiative.
When you look at something like WeChat and you look at WhatsApp, you know, a lot of people try to say these are very similar products. I say that's like comparing a Ferrari to a Ford. WeChat is just so much more innovative and so much more robust and powerful than WhatsApp.
That's a very good example of what can be exported around the Belt and Road Initiative. You may see a battle between WeChat and the Chinese technology businesses and the US technology businesses for market share.
And to power its high aspirations, China is turning to the ingenuity of budding entrepreneurs, especially those in tech. In 2001, there were just over 1,000 universities in China. Now there are almost 3,000. By the year 2030, it will have the highest number of graduates in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Alongside physical and digital infrastructure, the Belt and Road also seeks to improve energy access.
We have data going back 200, 250 years showing that when countries invest in infrastructure, that is how you grow. You cannot grow without it. It's kind of obvious, obviously. Roads, railways, power supply. When foreign investors go into an emerging market or a frontier market, a developing country, surveys show that the number one thing they're looking for isn't necessarily rule of law or low corruption or an educated workforce. Of course, those things are really important. Do you know what they're looking for? A stable electricity supply. A stable electricity supply is the number one thing that convinces companies, yeah, let's go and invest there. Do you know how many people don't have a stable electricity supply in Asia? It's a couple of billion people, right? So we have to do this. It can be improved. It's going to be improved. It's morphing and evolving every day, the Belt and Road Initiative, and it's definitely going in the right direction.
According to the UN, just below 1 billion people in the world have no access to electricity.
We're very focused in renewable energy. We mainly focus in solar farms.
Isha He is an entrepreneur and chairwoman of Unison, a solar energy company.
I found that it's very interesting for us because it's quite a new industry, and also we are doing something good to the society.
Unison projects produce over 1 gigawatt of electricity annually, but the company owes its existence to humble beginnings and hard work.
I kind from the city, people called entrepreneur. So in my heart, I have the willingness to create something new, to bring something different, to bring something even not like in huge size, but we are willing to start from zero, start from small, to bring something good to the society.
China is home to 7 of the top 10 biggest solar energy manufacturers globally, and makes almost 2/3 of the world's panels. It's also the largest solar market on the planet. To find a Unison solar project, one does not have to travel far.
现在我们在这个世贸商城的楼顶上我们在世贸商城上是建立了上海第一个分布式的光伏的电站。总容量在将近500 kW。世贸商城100%是消纳了这些电力。
This building in central Shanghai hosts 100,000 square meters of office space and 120,000 square meters of convention space. Helping keep the lights on and the bills manageable are Yisha's solar panels.
所以这是一个多赢的一个局面，同时为社会减少了这样一个碳的排放。
调一下，直流侧2.56，比那2串支路电流偏低。
好，每天我们都要进行巡查。
交流电流7.2安培正常。
With a history of air quality concerns, people in China and its government have embraced clean energy. In spring 2019, China launched the Belt and Road Energy Partnership. China hopes to use this platform to strengthen sustainable energy with its 30 members.
In 2017, we finished almost a 400 megawatt project in China. In more than 20 cities.
Yisha's wish is well underway. Today our company provides green energy not only throughout China, but globally, across the Belt and Road.
Along the One Belt, One Road, we have projects in Philippines, like Germany, Mexico, Vietnam, and also we have just started our first project in Netherlands, and also Romania. And now we are checking the market in Africa because we see there is a very good potential that we can promote green energy there.
Liu Liang is also a green entrepreneur and founder of eSavior.
From Monday to Friday, I live here and I work here.
He's on a mission to illuminate the world's streets with solar lights.
In this park, they changed all the lights to our solar street lights. You know, they used to pay a very big electricity bill, but now it's zero.
His lights keep roads safely lit across 90 countries, many of them in Belt and Road regions. Through years of hard work and product development, Liu has made eSavior one of the largest manufacturers of solar streetlights in the world. But his goals remain larger.
I think we are doing something to change the world. We are doing something to improve our environment, to improve the Mother Earth. That's our dream.
The Belt and Road Summit in April of 2017 to me is very significant because it was the culmination of a process conceived in Asia by Asian leaders for Asians and implemented by Asian powers, right? Principally China, but immediately convening all of the others. The membership in the Belt and Road Initiative has grown to include many more countries. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, which translates some of that vision into finance, is probably the fastest growing multilateral organization in history. When we think about global governance, we often say, well, yeah, these countries kind of matter, China, India, and so forth. Their power is measured by what they're doing for themselves. And we were missing that story. So yes, the Belt and Road Summit is, to me, a very nice, neat point in time to say this is clearly where Asians are just saying, we will do it ourselves.
China wants to be one of the world's most developed nations by 2049, its 100th anniversary. It hopes to use the Belt and Road Initiative to get there. During that time, China plans to build more infrastructure around the world than any other nation has done in history, create more bilateral trade agreements, and work with as many countries as possible.
In mobile services, in biotech, and industrial, China is going to become the most innovative country in the world in the next 5 to 10 years.
Just the opportunities here. There's so many opportunities here.
我们希望我们之间多点来往，多一点交流，多一点沟通，能够让全世界变得越来越美好。
This is the fourth Silk Road era that we're getting into. But of course, no one alive today can actually remember 500 years ago.
The ultimate aim is to build a community of shared interests for mankind. Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping said almost 4 decades ago, we should help developing countries develop. That will create opportunities for rich countries as well. So really it's a win-win, it's mutually beneficial.